Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another episode of NFTV Weekly. That's Information TV Weekly. I'm your host, 44K. The K stands for Kincaid. So, what we have here today is Tucker Carlson was given access to the footage from the Capitol by the Speaker of the House, McCarthy, out of California. And some of that tape is starting to hit social media tonight. So we have a gentleman by the name of Greg Price, who he's released some video about Officer Sicknick. So before we get into this video, just want to touch on some things. We are dealing with the most dishonest Democratic Party probably since Kennedy. They have not only lied about Russian hoax, they've lied about where the vaccine originated from. Now they've lied about January 6th. You have to begin to then ask yourself, why all the lies to keep one man out of office? And that one man that I'm talking about is Trump. What is going on where we have to have all this cloak and dagger, shadow, lies, try to use every part of the MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, whoever would do the dirty work for them to perpetuate this lie that, oh, we don't want to release the tapes because it might endanger the congressional members, it might endanger officers and let them know secret pathways. But on the first release of this information, we see that they were lying about particular things. So without further ado, let's just check this one out and see what's going on.
And several police officers in the meantime.
But Brian Sicknick should not be reduced to a prop for the political ambitions of the Democratic Party. He was a human being. The facts of his life matter, including how he died. To this day, media accounts describe Sicknick as someone who was, quote, slain on January 6th. The video we reviewed proves that is a lie.
So this is something that they're pretty good at. They amplify certain words, slain, but it's open-ended. Slain on January 6th. Where was he slain? What happened? Well, did it happen inside of the Capitol? Did it happen around the corner from the Capitol? Did he slip and fall? What are the actual facts of it, instead of trying to pile on the January 6th situation? Now, can you say people should have been inside the Capitol? No, you can admit that. You can admit people shouldn't have been inside the Capitol at all. But if the details of how they got into the Capitol, what they did once they were in the Capitol, were they assisted by, FBI informants and different things like that? That's all the information that should have came out at the January 6th committee, but it didn't. But let's get back into this video, see what else is said.
Surveillance footage of Sicknick walking in the Capitol after he was supposedly murdered by the mob outside. By all appearances, Sicknick is healthy and vigorous. He's wearing a helmet, so it's hard to imagine he was killed by a head injury. Whatever happened to Brian Sicknick was very obviously not the result of violence he suffered at the entrance to the Capitol.
See, but this is another reason on why you're supposed to have a free press. This is a great story for the free press. This shouldn't be a politicized story. This should be a story that both the left and the right wants to come together and come to the truth on what happened. The media is supposed to, the news, the free press is supposed to be checks and balances for our politician. So in a situation like this, when the left tries to leverage January 6th to gain power, to keep other members out of Congress, to sully the name of a sitting president, to use that to intimidate social media, to shut down accounts and different things like that, then both sides of the media, no matter if it's conservative media, liberal media, independent, progressive, however that media outlet is labeled, they should want to come to the truth because you're there to speak truth to power. But that's not what we get any longer. What we get is media doing the dirty work for the politicians, and then us, the people, stuck looking for the truth in any way that we can get it. But let's finish watching the video.
This tape overturns the single most powerful and politically useful lie that Democrats have told us about January 6th. And it was indeed a lie. The January 6th committee knew perfectly well that Brian Sicknick was walking normally through the Capitol.
So, from that little snippet,
Police officers in the meantime.
But Brian Sick.
From that little snippet, it shows that Sicknick was moving through the Capitol seemingly healthy, with energy, vibrant, around the time that they tried to say that he was killed. So then you have to ask yourself, how does this benefit them? They were able to leverage this information. They were able to leverage this during the midterm elections, saying we're here to save democracy. January 6th, some members of Congress were saying January 6th was the worst thing since Pearl Harbor. January 6th is on the same level as 9/11. People on the left were saying these things, and then now that everyone has access to, well, then let me not say everyone. The right now has access to the tapes that were being withheld from them, hours and hours of tape. It's now going to be released to the public, and we're now going to have two sides of the story and be able to get a better idea of what the overall truth is. Because like the old saying says, it's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. But it's somewhere in the middle. So just off this first release here, we see that the time isn't matching up that they were saying for Sicknick, who should have been dead around this time, but he was alive. So that's not matching up. But Greg Price has released another snippet from Tucker Carlson. But before I do that, let's go to, okay, who is this guy? SFC Network Comms Director, Greg Price, 228 followers. I'm gonna give this guy a follow. Breaking some news tonight. So then, all right, so let's check out this one. Never before seen video on January 6th shows Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman, being led through the Capitol by police the entire time that he was in the building. All right, so let's check
dangerous
this out.
Conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape.
So this is where I'm confused at. I'm confused because you have one man, Chansley, you have two officers. Why not, while he's separated from whatever grouping, arrest him and exit him out of the building? What were the orders of the Capitol Police? Because now that the material is coming out, it's starting to look like they were given specific orders not to engage once they got inside the Capitol. So were they told not to engage to prevent, damaging, a historic building like the Capitol? And is that why you have two officers just following him around? I'm definitely not going to say they were escorting. It looks like, when you go inside of an expensive store and then you have the loss prevention people following around somebody that looks suspicious, where they're like, okay, we're not going to engage. He hasn't done anything, but we are going to follow that person around. That's what this situation looks like. But let's watch a little bit more, see what happens.
The tapes show the Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to...
See, that's a little weird. So the guy's trying to get into Senate chambers. The one officer walks up to the door, checks the lock, sees that it's not open, then proceeds to turn around. That leads me to ask the question again. What were the orders of these officers? What were the orders of these officers? What were they told? Who told them to act in this manner? Police officers have no real power. I mean, you have legislation that makes the laws and they just enforce the laws. So who with the real power told them that it was okay for them to not enforce the law for trespassing when these individuals came in? And you see them passively following individuals that made their way into the Capitol. That's a question that I have, but let's continue to watch.
Multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down. Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them.
Buddy just walked past 10 officers with a Vikings skull or Vikings conqueror hat on with a flag, and these people are just standing around while they two homies escort him to Senate chambers. Come on now, like, you can be the most anti-Republican, anti-Trump person, but even if you see this, it has to spark your curiosity. Like, what is going on? Like, what are we seeing here? This is what's scary to me, that people are have so much chosen sides that they don't even care to ask questions anymore. It's like we on some gang banging type stuff, like the Democrats and Republicans is the new Bloods and Crips. Like, are we jumping people in? Like, what's going on these days? Like, what's really going on? Who is Biden, Larry Hoover, is Trump Tukey or Pookie or whoever? Like, what are we really doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got this obvious thing right here, and I promise you, if any newspaper or news site picks this up, that Tucker Carlson has released these tapes and images, it's going to be from a negative point of view, or trying to spin it as if these tapes are doctored to fit his narrative, instead of asking the question, why were these officers acting in this manner? But let's finish it off.
In a prayer on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for
Contrast the reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th.
Hold on, man. Now I'm just totally confused. They compare Kamala Harris, other members of Congress and the Senate compare this to that of 9/11, that of Pearl Harbor, and you telling me you have 10 people on the Senate floor holding a prayer, praying to God with no one around, and this is what they were comparing to 9/11. This is how they ginned up ginned up this event to get people, soldiers, riled up and so in fear that it was an insurrection, that you're holding people without charges in prison, you're sending them away for 10, 15 years, you're doing all this stuff, and right now we're seeing tape, never before see tape where they were on the floor praying. This is crazy.
The industry.
So, from what I gather right now, it's like it's going to get worse before it gets better. Because if they were honest from the get-go and released all the tapes and what was going on and let us know why the officers were acting in the manner they were acting and why you had people on the Senate floor praying, then we would have never had the hyperbole, the exaggeration, the trumped up charges, all these things that has came out of this January 6th committee and these charges. We would have never had that, and you would have just been able to charge people with trespassing, rightfully so, disturbing the peace, rightfully so, whatever other charges, but to put it on the level of 9/11 and Pearl Harbor and try to give it that level of historic value just to obtain and gain more power is sick. It's sick in my eyes. So hopefully you have some independent journalists, Matt Taibbi, those who are helping out with the Twitter files that are able to get access to this tape, this footage, and it leads them down a road to write some great investigative journalism, because we need to get to the bottom of this, and stuff like this never needs to happen again. Since 9/11, we have been put into a perpetual state of fear constantly, year after year, so that others are able to make money and they're able to take away our rights and freedoms because of that fear since 9/11. And it needs to stop. And for that to happen, both sides need to come together and start holding people accountable. So let me know what you think. It's your host, 44K. K stands for Kincaid. Go like, subscribe, go down to the comments. Let me know what you think. I appreciate all who stopped by, took a listen. Peace.